So my name is Steph. I just graduated in June of this year. In September, I'm going to be starting at the University of Alberta doing a Master's of Science in Epidemiology, kind of focusing on climate change and human health outcomes and sort of that kind of thing. But yeah, for the summer, I've been in BC, working on Vancouver Island, which has been super fun. I'm excited for kind of school to start again. So I worked with Dr. Katie Clow and was working on investigating the different types of determinants, so environmental or social, that really facilitate and drive zoonotic spillover and spillback. So we found that there's quite a bit of research on how certain pathogens go from animals to humans, but not a ton looking at how pathogens go from humans back to animals. So we kind of focused on seeing what kind of things really impact that process, both environmentally and socially.
And how did it relate to One Health specifically?
So the project specifically was really focusing on both environmental factors and social factors. So we really wanted to make sure that they had equal proportions in what we were looking at. So things from urbanization, deforestation, climate change, things like that, but also on more of like the social side and how people interacting with animals or different things like that can, kind of work into play with all of that. And then of course the zoonotic aspect, kind of having that animal part in One Health. So really making sure we weren't just looking at environmental and kind of humans or just animals and environmental, really making sure that there's all three.
During your studentship or even after, did you ever run into the point where you try to explain what One Health is, or you're like, oh, I'm doing this One Health studentship, and people are like, oh, what is it?
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's funny too, because sometimes I find myself struggling with the definition. And it's funny, I took the One Health course back in third year, and I remember there was a huge part of the class was focused on what is One Health. And a lot of times we were asked to just write out the definition. And I found every time still struggling to figure out what the definition is because it changes so much. And kind of depending on what you're doing or how you see it, it does change it. Obviously now I think I've gotten a better grasp on it, but still, yeah, I can understand why most people don't know what One Health is because it is so, I guess, new and up and coming, even though it's always been there, but people are starting to draw attention to it. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of times during the summer I'd be like, oh, I'm doing this One Health project. She'd be like, what on earth is that?
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, for sure.
Nice. Okay. And did you definition of One Health change before and after doing your studentship?
I think it's actually interesting looking back how little I knew about One Health really, and what I thought of it was just like, oh, people think about animals and, a little bit of the environment, a little bit of humans, but it really is so much more than that. Actually, putting it into play and making an active effort to integrate all of those things, and not even just integrating, but realizing that if you affect one thing, automatically affects the other, and kind of vice versa.
What does One Health mean to you now?
Yeah, I would say One Health to me is really about looking at the bigger picture and fully understanding that just focusing on one sector, whether that's humans, animals, environment, doesn't account for spillover into the other sectors. And so really making an effort to integrate all of those things and educating other people on it too, because I think One Health is still a pretty not well-known topic either.
When you did work from home, what would you do? And then also when you worked in person, what kinds of stuff in terms of field work, what would you do?
Yeah, for sure. So when I was work from home, it was a ton of researching things, building sort of outlines. It became a really big scoping review. So a ton of time was spent going on this program called Distiller, where you screen thousands of articles and sort of sort them and then kind of read through the articles. And once you have all that, you start getting your data from it and kind of building those graphs and charts and seeing what big trends you can find. So it's definitely a little bit tedious, but I mean, it's pretty good to do, kind of work from home style. Yeah, so when I would go and do field work, hands-on things, we would work on sampling manure and rainwater and surface water and groundwater to see what kind of pathogens were there. So that would look like driving about an hour north of Guelph, and we had a control farm and the actual sample farm, and kind of going between that and sampling. And really, I was just helping with data collection. But it was really nice to get hands-on experience in fieldwork.
Like, just thinking back, when you were working during your studentship, was it always like one-on-one with Dr. Clow, or was it, did you have like a team that you were able to work with?
Yeah, a lot of it was one-on-one, but we did kind of have a bigger group that we were working with. The project was part of a larger sort of interdisciplinary project with a bunch of other organizations. So we did kind of collaborate with them a little bit. A lot was with a couple other groups as well, and master's students. Just because it did connect so much, we would exchange kind of data or tips or just things that we were finding, which was pretty cool to see how it fits in, like the puzzle piece fits into this bigger picture, which was nice. Yeah, so sort of there was the bigger group, but a lot of it was one-on-one with Dr. Clow.
Has being chosen one of the Woolner students in 2021 changed your like career path?
Oh yeah, for sure. I would say that sort of doing that studentship really was the turning point for a lot of things. Just in terms of really being introduced to what I liked, and when I was doing it, there were certain parts that I thought, wow, this is super interesting. I wonder if people do this, do more of this, such as like climate change and sort of human health outcomes. And even from that studentship, getting exposed to other people in the field was a huge part of it. Sort of those networking events that we got to go to and the conferences, you get to hear about what other people are doing in a similar field, which otherwise is pretty difficult to get exposed to that. So I'd say that was a huge turning point for me, being like, oh, people do this. This is something people do, which was awesome. And then I guess kind of taking that and the connections I made to really reaching out to other schools about masters and things like that, and kind of using that studentship as the experience to kind of back it up.